Hello everyone and welcome to the review of the Firefly 8. This is a newly released model that comes with some special features such as wide dynamic range video, and also it provides a longer runtime than the 8S version, as you will see. But now let's take a quick look at the camera. It comes with a waterproof case included, and it looks just like the 8S version. This is the 90-degree FOV lens. This is the regular 170 degree lens. So they have the same connectors. It's a mini USB. This is a 10 connector mini USB port. This will provide you connectivity for external microphone, remote control, video output. So there are plenty of data wires there, and they have the same design as the card here. It's a small button here, switches on this side, shutter button on the top. And let's take a quick look at the battery. So the newer 8 version comes with a 1200 milliamps battery. This is a lithium ion high voltage cell. This charges up to 4.35 volts, which is more than the regular 4.2 volts. And this is the battery from the 8S. They are the same battery packs. The biggest difference in runtime on the regular 8 version is that it uses less power, it's more efficient, and it will shoot video for a longer period of time. In the box you are going to get a manual with instructions and download links for the app. It also gives you specifications. This camera uses actually the same image sensor like the 8S version, but it uses another chipset that processes the image, so that is the biggest difference. And if you want to pause this video to check out the specifications, be my guest. And the manual, it's pretty nice because it's better than the usual manuals that you get on action cameras. It shows you even how to connect the remote control cable. It shows you optional accessories, so it's a better thought manual. Also you get stickers with it, and you get some basic adapters such as the adhesive pads. One it's normal, the other one is curved. This should go onto your helmet or things like that. You get a pivot, mini USB cable. This was optional. It's the Bluetooth remote control which works with this camera. You also get a security locking steel wire. This is for hanging out the camera to something and preventing it from getting lost. Also you get extra adhesive pads and a bike mount, a handlebar mount, and that will aid you in fixing it not only to handlebars but also to other things. I'm now going to insert a micro SD card, and I'm going to power it on. Hopefully it will have enough power. And let's see, does it start? So it only has one power button here, and it's also the mode switch. And there it goes. We have image, it's in video mode. Let's see the menu navigation. So if I press this button, you can cycle the mode that you want to, and you have movie, photo, time-lapse. And also if you let go of the switch and not press it, it will automatically select the selection that it was already selected by this little red arrow. So as long as you keep moving, this will not select anything. But if I pause it, for example, on video, it will switch to video. This is very nice because you can use this button very easy underwater, for example. So you don't have to use these navigation switches like going back and forward. This will help you a lot when the camera is in the waterproof case. As you can see on the case, you don't have both switches there. You only have one button. so you will not be able to fully navigate the menu. This was very well thought, and just by using one button you can select the working mode. Like now I'm selecting photo and the camera has switched to photo mode. Of course, these buttons also, the working button here will also enable you to enter the full menu, and you can navigate this with the same button, and you can use the other button which misses on the case, which is back. And now I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to do a menu walkthrough, and I'm going to explain you some things. Before showcasing the menu, it's very important to know that the camera actually has multiple menus, and each menu corresponds to the working mode of the camera. For instance, now I'm on video mode. If I press the menu, I have video related settings such as resolution, bitrate, and so on. But if I get out of the menu, I switch the mode, for example, to photo mode, and I go back into setup. In the setup, now I have settings just related to taking photos. So you should be careful with that, because probably sometimes you are going to try to find a setting and it's not there. Well, that is related to the working modes, and that also applies to things like burst mode, where if you are going to settings, it will take you to burst settings. And now let's see the video menu. In the video menu, you can select, of course, the working resolution. You must know that this camera does not do fully 4K. This option here, it's a horizontal interpolated video. It actually has a resolution of 2880 by 2160p. So that's the resolution, and it will horizontally interpolate and add another line there, and it will go up to 4K. It is a better resolution and it has more detail, of course, than the 2.5K. So you can call this option here the 4K. As you can see, it's not labeled as 4K because it's really a 2160p. You can call this as let's say 3K video, and that will be the correct resolution for it, right? So you can go as low as 720p, but it will do 120 frames per second, and that will enable you to do some really nice slow motion videos. And of course, if you want to get even slower motion than that, you can go to a very low resolution, but you have at least 240 frames per second. I'm going to select the regular thing that I use mostly. It's Full HD and 60 frames per second. The loop recording setting will split the file that is currently recording in sequences of the selected value here. So it records for 2 minutes. It will close the file and open another file. This is useful if you use the camera like a card DVR, because when the SD card goes full, it has the option to recycle the video, so it will delete the oldest file and replace it with a new file, and it can do that in increments of 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's also useful if you film, for example, from a quadcopter and something goes wrong and your quadcopter crashes. If the camera is suddenly turned off, it will break the video file, it will get corrupted, and it may not be recoverable. But if you film in smaller segments, you have a greater chance that the other segments are okay and only the current segment is damaged. Time-lapse is for taking sequences of photos, adding them into a video, and then it will make a fast-forward video. Auto recording is for automatic recording when you connect power. Video voice is for recording audio, and this is the most important setting on this camera, is the wide dynamic range. What is this option? You may have seen this in some other cameras, but it mostly did nothing on them. Well, on this camera it improves vastly the contrast between dark objects and light objects. Any camera will struggle to generate a contrast between something like a white background and this black camera. Well, this camera will do something like two different exposures and combine them into one single exposure, and you will have details from the white object and details from the black object into the same image frame, and that is an impressive feature. Moving on to diving mode, this will make the image reddish and will eliminate the need to use a red filter to add a red glass in front of your lens. This will do the job properly for most users. Only if you do something really extreme you may need a red filter, but this will really improve image quality without needing other things to be bought. Fisheye correction, and this is a feature that is highly requested on a lot of action cameras that use a wide angle lens. This works pretty good. It will remove some of the curvature of the image, and you will not need image processing software to correct that. Motion detection will make the camera record when something moves in front of it. Night mode, this will improve video quality in some situations. It will, for example, drop the frame rate to half. It's not seeable now, but that is the function that it triggers. For example, if you shoot video in 60 frames per second and activate this night mode, it will actually shoot video in 30 frames per second, but it will improve image light sensitivity a lot. You also have a bitrate selector, and you can improve the quality by going to high mode. Date stamp, it's obvious, it will show you the time and date on the recorded video. Angle option is for choosing the FOV of the recorded video. This will reduce the angle, but this is done by software, and it's actually a crop of the video, but it also works as a, let's call it, zoom feature. Dual files, it will enable saving of a smaller video file, a copy of the bigger file. That will be easier to transfer for your mobile phone or quick checkup. AE lock, it's the automatic exposure lock. This will lock the camera from going brighter or darker by itself. It's very useful in shooting some high contrast situations, and it will improve video quality. For example, you use the camera as a car recorder. You have a clear sky full of sunshine, but you are driving into the mountains. You will going to have a lot of contrast in the asphalt part where it's black and you have trees and rocks and things like that. The camera will struggle to get a decent contrast between that dark asphalt road and the sunny sky. You can actually lock the exposure to the correct one, such as the asphalt, and the sky will be not taken into consideration. It will be very white, very bright, but you will get very good image quality and details on the darker side. The slow motion feature will make the camera film in high frame rate mode, and then will edit the video into a 30 frames per second video, and by that it will adjust the speed of it. It can go to 120 frames per second and 240 frames per second, and those files then will be split to the correct 30 frames per second, and you get 4 times and even 8 times slower video. Of course, you can film in 60 frames per second, and you can convert that to 30 frames per second, and that will mean half the speed. Fixed frame rate, this will work in conjunction with the night mode, and it will lock the camera from switching in lower light situations. For example, you are filming in 60 frames per second, the camera will switch to 30 frames per second. Well, enabling this, it will cut out that feature, and it lock the camera into 60 frames per second. Wireless, you can enable, disable it from the menu, but you can also do it from the keys on the switches here. On screen display, it will show you battery, date and stuff like that. Frequency for your light source to avoid flicker. white balance. It has plenty of modes here. ISO sensitivity, color. Here you can go into some effects such as black and white, sepia, and it even has a flat mode, highly requested from GoPro users, which have an option like Pro Tune. This will shoot with less color saturation, and you can do color grading on your PC in your video editing application. Sharpness, you have 3 levels here. Exposure compensation, which will make the image brighter or darker. Noise reduction, is nice that we have such a feature here, and you can switch it as you want to. This should be interesting to play with, because until now this feature was not available on such kind of action cameras. Metering is the way the camera will do the exposure. It will be average, center, base, or spot. Gyro RSC is the image stabilizer. The camera has an electronic gyroscope which measures the tilt and the sudden moves of the camera, and it will crop the image from the sensor. Those will reduce the shaking a lot. Other settings here are TV modes, automatic power off, screensaver, the idle time until the camera shuts off the LCD to save power, date and time, the sound if you press buttons, language, LEDs. The camera has a lot of LEDs. I'm going to enable them all and you are going to see them. It even lights up this Firefly 8 logo. Image rotation, if you install the camera upside down. HDMI output, because this camera has a micro HDMI port here. Quick start option, if I remember correctly, this will make the camera record video or take photos just by pressing the shutter and holding it pressed. It will automatically start the camera if it's turned off, and it will start recording right away. Something like that. USB shutdown, I don't know what that is. Oh, this is for when you remove the power from the camera when you are using it in the car. It's actually the time that the camera will still run on the battery, and then it will automatically turn off. LCD brightness, it has 3 levels, comes default on high. Automatic Wi-Fi connection, probably it has the option to turn on default the wireless. It's not recommended because the wireless will draw a lot of power and drain the battery very fast. You can format the SD card, you can reset the camera to default, and on the version is my firmware, which is updated, and now at the time of the review it's the latest. Switching to photo mode now, you have options such as resolution, a timer when you press the button and it will trigger later, burst, how many pictures it should take when you press the trigger button, auto photo, let's see, this will make the camera take pictures at an interval, raw format, and you can process that later for very good results. Special effects, you have some really nice effects here like color, pencil, sketch, rock, and things like that. Quality for the compression of the photo, day stamp, long exposure mode, and now some of the options repeat themselves, such as exposure, noise reduction, metering, gyro, and things like that. So it's rather the same menu, and I'm not going to walk through all the same options again. So as you can see, for the picture you have the basics and what is most important, and of course ISO sensitivity, exposure, and things like that for long exposure photos, night photography, and so on. Application wise, the Hawkeye uses a very nice application. It has a lot of features, and beside the live streaming on your mobile phone, which works pretty decent, it does has a bit of lag, but it's normal on most of this type of action cameras. Beside that, the app is very nice because You can switch working modes, you can go to slow motion, you can go to time-lapse video, you can do actually anything that you can do from the camera menu. It's not just a simple app to do a few settings like switching date and things like that. You can even do FOV settings, you can flip the image, select sharpness, you can adjust the white balance, you can enable or disable the gyro, which is very nice, and you can even see live how the gyro is cropping the image. And beside that, you can go into camera settings, and here it has almost all the settings that are available on the camera. It will even show you how much space you have on the micro SD card. You can enable quick boot. It's actually the full menu in this app, and makes it very easy to set up the camera, especially if you update the firmware. That will set your camera to defaults. You can open the app and quickly do your preferred settings that you mostly use, and that's very nice. The app also works on landscape, and it also has a gallery menu, and this will show the files that are already saved on the camera. You have the option to see them directly or need to download them. Let's see, the app will download. This is a picture taken with the camera, so it downloads it. No, it's actually from the camera, and you have the option here to download if you want to do that. And it actually brought both photos that are currently on the micro SD card. Probably the same happens for the video, but that means it needs to stream all the video into your mobile phone, and here comes in place the dual file option. If you have smaller files, it will be very easy to preview a recorded file from the camera to your mobile phone instead of downloading the full video from the camera to your mobile phone. I hope that you have enjoyed my first part of this video review. I'm going to soon add the second part, and that will be, of course, camera footage, camera tests. I'm going to show you how a video looks with wide dynamic range and the same video without dynamic range. And of course, I'm going to include footage in all resolutions, and I'm going to compare it with some action cameras and even with the 8S here, but there are some differences between the lens, even though there's the same image sensor. It's going to be interesting because that will surely be different type of image that you are going to see between these two cameras. So until then, be sure to follow my next uploads, and see you soon. Bye bye.